a great game. It's a great rivalry. The outcomes have not been there for Auburn over the last couple of years, and there's no getting around that at this point. I think it's Austin at this point. Is it 9 in a row that they have won or something like that? I should have looked that up before we went live, but
I think that sounds right. I mean, the last one was 05, so we're pushing 20 years.
Look at us mathing. We're mathing live on the show.
It's getting close if it's not 9. Yeah, I was really surprised by the opener to the TV broadcast. They mentioned Auburn. Well, now it's tied, but Auburn had the all-time lead of wins in Athens. But really, because Georgia had won 8 straight, it became closer. Now it's 9 straight. It's unfortunate, and it has been a long time since Auburn's won there. And the monkey will get off that back one day. That we all said that seemed impossible at LSU, and it happened. And so I think it will happen one day. We'll get into the X's and O's, but I was fairly pleased with how Auburn handled this game. No, they didn't get the outcome we all wanted, but I did not see this team intimidated or overmatched in too much in two areas. So, but no time to take the win home from between the hedges this go round.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because talking like just in general sense about the game, obviously the outcome I think most people expected. If you look at the score, it certainly seems like most people would have expected that type of margin for Georgia. Some I think are, and I think it may be reflected in the rankings, we haven't seen them all yet, that they probably should have beat us by more. And that's not taking anything away from Georgia. They handle their business, all that stuff. But the reality is that, and I forget the time frame on this. At one point, Auburn's 14-10, only down 14-10. And that's an opportunity for a team that is really looking for something to light a fire under them because of the struggles they had. I would say if you're a Georgia fan and you're being reasonable, that got a little bit dicey, and that homecoming decision to name Auburn your homecoming kind of made you feel a little bit scared given all the other things that happened. I mean, you just got to, I guess, find things to anchor you when things are going crazy on a day like that. But, Auburn did their best to make this a game, just couldn't hang on to the end. Just one too many mistakes is really what it was.
It is, and it's kind of become a theme, unfortunately. It's just a lot of mistakes.
Margin for error, like this.
Margin for error is very small, and these errors that Auburn keeps self-inflicting on themselves are not helping them in any way. And I know people don't want to hear that. I know people don't want to hear that, well, the moral victory is that we were close, but that there's so many areas that look like if all the cogs just come together, this team can be something special. And you see the foundation that Hugh Freeze and the staff are trying to lay. I think it speaks volumes when you see former players talking about that, because they've been in these locker rooms, they've been in their own situations, and they know what it's supposed to look like, and they're seeing that. I thought Rob Pate, former Auburn safety from the late 90s, put it very well. That this team, there are many teams that have gone into Athens looking scared when they get off the bus, outmatched and out physicaled, and this team did not look like that to him. And I think that speaks volumes. So it was unfortunate, but like you said, I'm not sure that score totally reflects how close it was. It doesn't matter. It's still a loss. I get that. But I was overall, when you take a look back and know what you were expecting going in, I'm not terribly disappointed.
Yeah, and I think you definitely saw 2 years now where an Auburn team that should have been beaten by where we assume Georgia is at as a program right now by much more. And obviously last year was a bit of a scare for them and should have been an Auburn victory in all reality if one Brock Bowers didn't go off at the last possible second. And this one, where a few other bounces were maybe it's still a Georgia win, but we're talking about this thing once again down to the wire. So I think Georgia fans, if they're being truly reasonable and honest, sense the times may be kind of heading back to more competitiveness, but obviously it doesn't really matter in the results of this season. I want to give a shout out to at least players that I think are of note. A lot of people have been calling, can we please run the ball more? Well, you probably didn't get as much as you wanted in this game, but there certainly was a concentration to get people like Jarquez Hunter the opportunity to run that dang ball. And boy, did he run that dang ball. I mean, I think this is the exact shot here from Austin Perryman, the official photographer for Auburn football, of him after the guy on the ground is him who he ran over and then ran through the rest of the blocks to run for his 30-something yard touchdown, something like that, Austin?
Yeah, something along those lines, and had a great run down the boundary with a great stiff arm work we're used to seeing Jarquez Hunter give. I think I'm with you. I think that he got more touches. I think you can give him more, and I think that I don't think the staff is not wanting to give him more. I think it's just a matter of making sure, the right looks come from it, and that the right plays get followed through with. But I think that when you see Jarquez Hunter run, he is still showing you he is one of the best backs in this league, if not the country. Right. And thankfully that he continues to produce. But I think hopefully that we'll continue to see him get trusted more and more to carry the ball, because he's shown against a defense like Georgia's that he can still put up those numbers. He's worthy of more carries.
He is. And let's certainly talk about what you somewhat slightly referenced there. Obviously, there's one big mistake that everyone will obviously focus on, and that was what is, according to Coach, and I don't know if Peyton's addressed it yet or not. I haven't seen it. But his apparent decision to change the play with what he felt like he saw on 4th and 1, which was at a very crucial moment in that game, which, according to Coach, and again, some of y'all are going to choose, he's throwing people under the bus again, or he's not telling the truth, or whatever. You choose your narrative. Some of y'all just can't be, some of y'all just got issues. But the reality is the coaches, according to them, called a play. He changed it, and it was the wrong decision. If it's one of those situations, again, whether we're talking about coaches making the decision, players, if it works out, you're brilliant. You're the hero. If it doesn't work out, you're the GOAT, not the GOAT the other way, not the good GOAT.
Sure. The scapegoat.
It was a bad decision by Peyton Thorne in hindsight.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's like I don't view Hugh Freeze saying that as throwing him under the bus when the question was asked.
And he even said, after he said no, he changed the play, and that's not what we said. He said we should have not put him in that position.
You tell him to not check it. So I think there's fault on both sides. But I think that, I don't view that as Hugh Freeze throwing the guy under the bus when the question was directly asked, was that a read or was that the play called? And he says no. Well, would you like him to say yes? Because that's a lie. So I think that there's a lot of issues with how people want to perceive things and how people are perceiving things, to adjust what they want it to look like. We've already talked about that at length last week, but in the end, it was a bad decision by whoever was the ultimate call. As far as we know right now, it was Peyton Thorne's call. And I think and hope that he'll own up to that. The view that you can see is that it would have worked. If we stay with what's called and give Jarquez the ball, the replay shows the hole is open, and it's a rare O-line open.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I don't think, because it was a long 4th and 1. And I'm just going to be honest that I think our offensive line is still lacking in that category of, we got to have this push against, they're coming at you. And if they don't get caught in the right slant or they get caught in the wrong slant, it's over with. So I don't know that the play works out either way, frankly. Now it's Jarquez Hunter, as you talked about. We've seen him do some crazy things. So I think the point is, and what you're, I think, ultimately saying is, let's give Jarquez the chance, and let's not do what seemingly hasn't worked in the past at pulling that in that position and trying to, make something crazy happen. Is that kind of the gist of maybe what you're saying?
Sure. I think the view I saw of the replay is that, and I'm not saying the O-line did a fantastic job because they had a horrid day. But I think that there was a hole open from what I saw. Maybe that wasn't the right play that I'm referencing. That looks like it gives you 1 to 2 yards.
Sure.
However, I total agreement, and I think that's what Hugh Freeze was ultimately getting to, is there should be no other option than Jarquez Hunter in that moment, given how he had already done in the game. We'll see what Peyton Thorne says about this week. I think he normally has some media availability.
We'll have to see. They announced this week they're not going to have any. They're off this week, but hopefully we will get the opportunity to have him address that, because I also would like to hear that perspective, because he has given some perspective about what's gone through his mind at the time.
And I think with today's world, we've all brought it up, and it's been brought up by fans a lot. These players, we want to hear from them too. We want to hear them take accountability, and we want to hear them give their own voice as much as we've only heard from coaches in past years. So I hope he gets that opportunity.
Let's give some credit, though, to some other players as we wrap up our time on this game, too. We talked about Jarquez, obviously your strong offense. Keldrick Falk.
Oh, my goodness.
My goodness, son, just have a day. I mean, like, we knew that we had a special kid in Keldrick Falk when he already was getting starting time as a freshman last year. And even when they moved him from edge over to defensive end because of necessity, because of depth there that we were lacking. And then he goes over there and continues to flourish. This year, he gets named as a captain in a sense. But one of your representatives for SEC Media Days as a sophomore. He has quite the day. And you just saw number 15 just in the backfield all the flipping time. I mean, just what 2 sacks, I think.
I think 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, which, I'm always like, okay, they're all tackles for loss, but well, whatever. I think that, he showed that he is a force above many of the other offensive lines and very good offensive lines you face in the SEC. And thank goodness, because Auburn needs him. Him alongside Jalen McLeod is a force to be reckoned with. And he showed it yesterday. I got really nervous when he went down, Kyle. I was very, very, very concerned. Thankfully, he just had a little jump scare, had to get checked out and came back in. But he has been a very, very bright spot. And look, we're going to keep harping on it, but Keldrick Falk is one of multiple names of youth you can point to on this Auburn team that Hugh Freeze has brought in from the high school ranks, and they are already showing you they're good. They're already showing you that they have promise and that they need to be developed. Jay Crawford, and I will not have to remember the other guy's very long name. I believe. Give it to me.
Kinsley Lindor Foston, I think is how you say something.
Long. It is a long name, but they both played very, very high minutes and very high leverage minutes for Auburn against very good Georgia receivers. And I was impressed with them. So do not, I know the quarterback isn't there what you want. I know the quarterback is the position we're all focused on. Your point. We know, but the youth on this team is showing out.
Yeah, it is. And I just want to say this too. I think Georgia once again show why we call them a certain name with a certain play on number 15. Just trust me. We're keeping tabs. I think I forget who to attribute it to. You better get us while we're down, because we ain't gonna be down for long. So get your licks in while you want it. Go ahead and be the way we always characterize Georgia. But we coming.
I think that was Dion.
I think that's. Did I just quote Dion?
I think you just quoted Deion Sanders.
Man, we got it in the show now. Final note, obviously special teams wise, we did have a field goal blocked. It's another one of those situations you put Towns McGoo in really tough situation. Big ask for that young of a guy to be making that on that stage. And he does, as a former kicker, have to put it at a lower trajectory. If you block a little bit better, he still probably gets that off. Does he make it? We don't know. He does make 2 other field goals, which scores more points than we typically do in UGA the past couple of times we're there. So we got to thank him for that. Again, whether we're talking about offense, defense, special teams, coaching decisions, player decisions, there was definitely some bad there. But I think without trying to Pollyanna in this and if you want to call us sunshine bumpers, fine. I don't see how it's the weirdest insult that you can ever give, because never mind. I'm going down a rant. I don't know.
Here he goes.
The point is there was some movement in the right direction in this game. And at this point in this season, that's about all you can ask for in reality.
Absolutely.
But as it stands, 31-13, the Georgia Bulldogs get us again, to get us while you can, because it ain't going to be long till we'll be getting you back.